another DIY segment here on Rev Hard Garage. Today we're going to be going over how to build custom spark plug wires. Here's everything you're pretty much going to need. You're going to need some tools for crimping, stripping the wires back, some cutters, got some NICs, some silicone spray, some adhesive, whatever you've got, something along the lines of a super glue, but you know, something more like this would be better. I got some boots, and here we've got Taylor 46005. It's listed as a 135 degree spark plug boot. It's actually the same as a 45 degree. And also on the coil side, a Taylor 46069 is going to be the part number for these boots that go on the coils. And then whatever wire you want to get. I just ordered some MSD, the little 6-foot roll of wire for this project. So we're going to go over how to put these together. So I'm going to go ahead and get these out of the package, and we'll move on from there. Okay, I've got these out of the package now. And you may be asking yourself, why does he have a bunch of old spark plug wires laying out here? Well, I just wanted to tell you a couple of things that might be helpful for you. This is an OEM stock, just basic short style spark plug wire, and this will give you an idea of the length you're going to need. You know, it's always good to have a reference point. Sometimes you may have something custom, maybe some different brackets or some different valve covers. So you know, this may not work exactly, but if you're using stock brackets, stock coils, you know, that's going to be a good reference point for how long you need your spark plug wire. And again, there's another OEM style wire. Now this is a set I had laying around of the long style, and you don't really see these too often. But the reason I had them out here is because I wanted to point out that if you do have a set of long style wires, you can just as easily cut the end off, and you still have more than enough wire to make some spark plug wires. If you got yourself a set of headers where these are not going to clear, and honestly 90% of them don't. I've only seen one set of headers clear, and it certainly wasn't in a Trailblazer 97X, Trailblazer SS. The headers are usually a lot tighter in those, and that's what these wires are going to actually be for, is a 5.3 97X, and it's got a set of excess power headers, and some of them do fit, but there's a couple of them that are really tight, namely number 2, which is a problem on a lot of headers. So with the 45 degree boot, what I found is that you get really good clearance from a lot of different headers. I've ran these on several vehicles now and haven't had any trouble with them. So if you get these 45 degree boots, and I got 4 plug wire sheaths, as they call them, from Summit. All this actually came from Summit, by the way. But you don't really need the sheath on every spark plug wire. And I'm not trying to sound cheap, but I don't like buying parts that I don't need. And there was exactly 4 of these spark plugs that I feel like needed to have the heat boot on them. On my 2005 ProCharge Trailblazer, I don't have any on that one, because the 45 degree boots have plenty of clearance, and I've never had any trouble out of them. So it just depends on your setup. These are not going to touch your runners, I can tell you that. So if some of them are just a little bit close, you know, you might just need 2 or 3 of these. Or, you know, if you want to buy the whole set, that's fine too. I'm not hating on you. But anyway, I just wanted to point out, you can buy these. I bought them on Summit. I'm sure they're available in other places. I've never really looked. I've got a Summit about an hour away from me, so even when I order stuff and have it shipped, it's here the next day. So that's why I like to get a lot of stuff from Summit. But anyway, this set I think was like 14. This set somewhere in the area of like $12 to $14. This 6-foot piece of superconductor wire is 18 something. So I mean, you really just can't beat it. And if you're on a little bit of a budget, and that's the reason I mentioned, you know, if you had a set of these longer spark plug wires, and honestly, if you really wanted to, it's not difficult to get this end off of the wire as opposed to cutting it. You can take a longer screwdriver or something from the inside and push on the connector, and I've had a lot of success pushing the wire in the connector straight out of the boot. And honestly, if you really needed to, you could probably even put these on a set of stock wires, like I said, if you're on a budget, because like I said, this is under $15. But I'm gonna get right into stripping the wire back and showing you guys how I assemble these things so that they don't pull apart when you try to remove them from the spark plug. Alright, so we got a 6-foot piece of wire. Usually I buy this stuff by the roll, but this was in stock and ready to ship, so we'll go with that. Alright, so basically once you get your measurement for your first wire, which basically, you know, the ends of the wire are going to be somewhere in there. So you can pretty much lay this thing out, you know, and you can see about where it's going to be. It's going to get stripped back, so you're going to lose probably about 1.25 inches by the time you strip both ends. So you want to make it, basically what I would do is just go from the end of the boot to the end of the other end, and that's going to be more than enough. So we'll take and cut that right there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut all of our wires so that they're all the exact same length. Now that's how close I was on that 6-foot piece of wire. So what you want to make sure that you're definitely not cutting your wires long enough that you run out. So I was that close. So now my wires are cut to the same length. 2, 4, 6, 8 wires. Alright, so we're going to do, the key to this is being consistent. So you want to strip this back just enough that you can fold it over. You're going to lose a little bit, you know, across the end. So if you strip it back what you think is far enough to fold it over, don't forget that you're going to lose the amount of the roll over there. So what I like to do, at least with this particular tool, is I'm going to see the width of the tool once there, and then I'm going to bring the blade to where the edge of it was, and that usually works out for me. So you can find the formula like that for yourself. But you'll spin this thing around and just pull that wire right off. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. I'm going to go the width of the tool. Okay, and I can usually line it up with something like the letter. So you can see it's right at the bottom of the E right there. So that's where I'm going to bring my blade, is right to the E. And then I'm just going to spin this thing around and cut it off and pull on it. And we're all stripped back. Alright, so we're going to get here's our coil side. And here is our spark plug side. Now the boot's going last. You don't need to worry about the boots right now. But basically what you're going to be doing, this is why I brought a knife over here, by the way. Sometimes you'll have these little pieces of string don't want to get in the way, so you can cut those back and get them back out of the way. But essentially, you're folding this wire over, and it can be a little stiff. So the first couple of times you do this, it may be a little tricky for you, but you're going to lay that down into the bracket. And there are some other tools that are useful. These are actually some old RG6 cables that crimpers that I had. I did have a spark plug tool, but it broke probably several years ago, and I was in a pinch, so I grabbed these, and they work great. So I've just been using them. But you may want to just buy a spark plug tool. You definitely want something that's made to crimp, because you're not going to really be able to do this with like a pair of pliers or something like that. But with these, you know, I'll come in from the side, you know, squeeze it down, and then I can come in from the top and squeeze it down, and I can move to the smaller side and really get it nice and tight. But what I like to do at this point, and you want to have gloves on when you do this, but I like to take a little bit of adhesive and just put a little bit on the wire right here. Because if you ever try to take wires off and experience the end pulling off, it's very frustrating. And that is one easy way to keep this thing from ever coming out. So then I'm going to squeeze it down. And like I said, you got to kind of work it a little bit, especially this larger wire. It's a tight squeeze. So I'm going to bring this down, crimp it. And you'll just kind of have to, you know, get a feel for it so you get where you need to be. Alright. And then, now that we've got that done, this is the coil side. So what you're going to want to do is take some silicone spray. And I don't recommend using WD-40 or any kind of petroleum based lubricants, because they don't ever really dry, and it can still make the boot be able to slip in and out. So get you some silicone spray. You're gonna spray it down pretty good, and before it dries, you need to just make sure and get it pushed in there. And it's a little bit easier if you go too far, because you can still pull it back a lot easier than you can push it, because once the silicone dries, it actually kind of gets a tiny bit sticky. I found on the rubber. So it's almost like an adhesive when you put these two rubber pieces together. Like I said, silicone dries and it kind of seizes out. You can still pull it out, but you can tell a big difference once it dries compared to if you didn't have anything on it. So okay, so basically this is all you need to do. They do come with these insulators, but it's made from more like a stock size wire. And so basically what you would do is, once you crimp the end on, you would slide this up behind it as you put it into the boot. But we're not going to be using it because it doesn't even fit the wire, so that's not a problem. Honestly, the last couple of sets I bought, they didn't come with those, so I don't know why this set's different. It's the same part number, but there's no problem with using it without it. You just have to make sure that as you put it on, you know, that you line the connector up with the coil. So now we're going to turn around and do the exact same thing with this 45-degree bend. And but the thing is, you want your 45 to line up So you're going to fold this wire with the end facing up. You're going to fold this wire under, right? And you're going to lay that down inside the V, so that these two ends are going to face the same direction. You don't want it twisted, because it'll be hard to get the spark plug wire to sit right. And once again, I'm going to take and put a couple drops of some adhesive in here, and it really don't take much, just enough to stick it. This side's actually a lot easier to crimp down than the full side. That's very nice. Alright. So as you can see, we got this side crimped on. And we're going to do the exact same thing. Now the long side of the boot is going to be on the wire side. And you can see where that 45 is going to land. And as you push it in, you'll kind of feel it settle right there. It'll actually be pretty hard to push it past it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this with some silicone. And I'm going to push this in. And you can actually see it land right there perfectly. It's on the inside straight. You can look down in the tube. I know you can't see it on camera, but as you're putting these together, you can look down in the tube and you can see that it's straight and it's in the right spot. And there is a custom Taylor MSD spark plug wire. And I know you saw the NICs. What you want to do, and this has worked for me in the past, but you're going to take a Q-tip of some sort, or maybe a brush or something, but you're gonna get a good helping of anti-seize, and you're gonna want to put it down inside the connector. Alright, and then you're gonna want to make sure that you coat every tiny little bit of the rubber that's inside of there. I was gonna say every square inch, but I doubt there's a square inch in there. But you're gonna want to thoroughly coat the inside of this rubber and around the tip. And the reason being is it's going to keep the rubber from actually sticking to the spark plug, the ceramic part of the spark plug. 99% of the time, the reason you can't get a spark plug wire off of the spark plug is simply because the rubber has like heat sealed itself to the ceramic. So putting a coating of anti-seize in there really helps a lot with that. And then on this end over here, you know, put you a little bit of anti-seize on the metal part there. This side can stick to the coil, but it's usually not nearly as bad, and it's a lot easier to get to, so it's not usually a problem. But I just figure if it's good for the other end, it's good for this end too, you know. So there's my number 2 spark plug wire with the boot on it. And so I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these done, and I'll check back in. show you guys a comparison of the fitment between the stock wires and these 45-degree ends. That way you can see for yourself, you know, whether they'll work for you or how good they are. So here's where the stock wire sits, and I just had them in there temporarily to, you know, start it, run the tune on it and stuff. But you can see how they're hitting. Now look at the 45 end that I just made. Look how much clearance that is. And you can't put a 90 in there, you know, because it won't clear the flange. So, you know, you're going to need to get these 135-degree ends. Straight ends are a bad idea. Now I know some companies make 45s, but as far as I know, it's only those ceramic wires. And this is significantly cheaper. This is probably about half the cost. And if you buy the wire in bulk and you use it a lot, you know, you're really only looking at the cost of the ends. And if you've got a decent set of spark plug wires and you know, you can cut your current end off and you got enough length to put the new end on there, you're only looking at about $15. So it just depends on your situation. But I just wanted to show you guys how much clearance. And you can see on the header right up under that 45 where the stock wire was touching even on that one, just the same way this one was. So yeah, I just wanted to show you guys how much clearance there is there. I mean, it's great. Got one more thing to add. I wanted to talk about these Summit plug wire sheaths. It's a 4-pack, and you can see the part number there. But it's $9.99 for these 4 boots, and they're actually pretty long. And it turns out, as great as these wires fit, I don't really need any of them to have a heat shield on them. But it could never hurt, you know, to have a little bit of extra protection on there. So what you can actually do, because these are so long, at least on this particular setup, you can fold this in half to get yourself a line and cut it and make 8 boots. And you can see from the fold how long it's going to be. And so basically it's gonna pretty much come down to that 45 right there, because that's going to be the end of the spark plug, you know. So that's going to give you plenty of protection to clear the headers. So if you cut that in half, you got yourself 8 aluminum. These are basically the exact same as the DEI heat wrap stuff. You know, it's got the aluminum on the outside, and I mean, these are actually pretty thick. Some of them almost feel kind of like an aluminized fabric or something, which I guess technically this is, but this is thick enough that you can actually bend it and it'll hold its shape. So they're pretty heavy duty. They're $9.99. I mean, you can't beat that. And in my opinion, these are a lot better than the regular cloth style ones, like the lava boots or some of the others. So anyway, for $9.99, you can basically have 8 spark plug boot protectors, or as they call them, plug wire sheaths. And I mean, you just can't beat it. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut these in half. Just put one on every boot and just stick them on there. I also wanted to show you guys one other thing that pertains to the spark plugs. If you've got a tight number 2 spark plug, which pretty much guaranteed you're going to, at least on the Trailblazers, Envoys, you know, 97X, you're going to have a lot of trouble with the number 2 spark plug. And something else that I've done, you can see these spark plug sockets here. Now, this is a normal just 5/8 spark plug socket, and this one was just attached shorter also, but neither one of these could install the spark plug. You could just barely get one of them on there. When you tighten it down, you couldn't get it back off. It was just real tight. So what I've done is I've taken a spark plug socket like this, and I just smoothed it down basically to the diameter of these flat areas. and just smooth the transition here, as you can see. And I can put the number 2 spark plug in, no problem with this right here. So if you've got an extra 5/8 socket laying around and perhaps a bench grinder, this can happen. It's very easy. It's practically free if you already have a spare socket, but I've got like 10 of these. And there you go. That's your number 2 spark plug socket right there. Alright guys, so there you have it. I hope this was helpful. This is actually a video that I've gotten several requests for. So I hope this was helpful to you. That's the finished product. And you know, there's a lot of benefits to making your own wires, especially nowadays. It seems like the quality from all the manufacturers is kind of diminished. You never know really what you're gonna get when you order stuff. It's all, you know, who knows who puts this stuff together anymore, you know. And so when you put the spark plug wires together yourself, you know what you've got. You know that you've made the connections good. You know that they're the length you need, you know, etc. So I prefer to build my own spark plug wires. It's really not that difficult. You know, I've talked to a lot of people that say that it's just too much of a pain in the neck and they'd rather order a set, or they feel like they don't know what they're doing, or they're not going to be able to do it right. So, and I understand, you know, for some people it may just be it may just make more sense, you know, to order a set of spark plug wires. But like I said, you don't really know what you're going to get nowadays. I've seen people with very expensive sets of wires try to take them off the spark plugs and the ends rip off, or you know, I've actually seen one from a very large spark plug wire manufacturer that was DOA. It did not work from the box. So you never really know what you're going to get. And if you order some of the ceramic plugs, half the time when they get there, they're going to be broken. I don't know what to tell you about that. A lot of people get them in good shape, and a lot of people don't get them in good shape. So to me, you can pretty much avoid all these situations just by building your own wires. Like I said, it may not be for everyone. But if this was helpful, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know what you disagree with and how that you would prefer to do it. I'm always open for tips or to pick up new tricks. So, you know, like, subscribe, share if you want to, you know. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.